Hey, what's up guys? John here. Commercial real estate is falling apart, and I believe there's going to be massive investing opportunities coming very soon. If you want to invest in residential real estate, commercial real estate, some huge opportunities are coming, but also some major pitfalls are going to be coming as well. We're going to start to see millions of investors in some really big trouble. Here's what's going on. Right now, commercial real estate loans and commercial real estate defaults are at the highest level since the great financial crisis. And this is only just beginning. When we start to look at what Jamie Dimon is saying right now, what the data is suggesting is going to happen next, it's pretty shocking. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what's going on. Please hit the like button. When you hit the like button, YouTube's going to share this content to educate more people about what's really going on. And on this channel, I talk about personal finance. I remove emotion from finance so we can see things clearly. And I don't really put things together in a way in which I'm overly optimistic. I look at things clearly and make an educated decision on it. And I've said for a little while that I think commercial real estate's in really big trouble, and the real estate market as a whole is in really big trouble, especially given the QE and this 0% interest rate environment we've been in for a very long time. I think some big problems are coming. If you want to invest in distressed real estate, but your credit isn't where it should be, we would love to help you at GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. Give us a call at 561-430-5900 for a free consultation. Take a look at this. So, commercial real estate, this came out, says that commercial real estate is the next victim of bank turmoil. Defaults hit to a 14-year high. 14-year high, well, we're in 2023. That's 2009, right? 2009. Just for easy math, commercial real estate is the next victim. Look at what this billionaire investor said. Banks are going to tighten lending on commercial properties. Well, that's obvious. Of course they're going to. But there's some really unique things happening where I think we're going to start to see landlords get in some really big trouble. The first is going to be job layoffs. And we're going to start to see wages fall and inflation rise. And we're going to start to see more defaults because people will choose to feed themselves before they choose to feed their landlord. Right now, Apple to lay off employees. McDonald's temporarily closes offices. All of these different jobs. I mean, so far in 2023, we've had more layoffs than we've had all 2022. Pretty shocking, right? Because we're only 125 days, give or take, into 2023, a third of the way through the year, and we've already surpassed 2022. Jobs, it's fascinating here is if you just type in jobs, it says news about AI. This is what they're feeding, right? But it also says job openings tumbled below 10 million in February for the first time. Many people would look at that and say, you know what, that's a good thing. Especially they say that they need to increase the unemployment numbers to combat inflation. What that really means is they believe, or they're communicating with us, that what's ultimately happening is we are heading in the right direction. We need to continue to increase interest rates. When they continue to do that, it's going to be more pressure on banks, more pressure on the economy, and more stress felt. News about AI. So it says AI could automate 25% of all jobs, right? We've heard these numbers and all this, but what's fascinating now is that they're putting this on the homepage when you just simply search for jobs, right? When you just search jobs, this is what's coming up. And JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, said this fascinating statement here. Says, right, the buzzword in AI. So when we start to look at this, this is going to play such a huge role, and I've talked about this on this channel. If you look at Glenn Kelman, the CEO of Redfin, he said that it's going to change how banks issue lending, the climate, and how banks and underwriting and everything takes place is going to change on who can actually qualify to buy these properties because there's going to be more risk apparently in certain areas. It's going to be harder to insure these properties, harder to get the loans. So you're going to need more money to buy these properties, all these different things, right? But they're going to essentially re-underwrite all these different properties. And when he's talking about this, and he's also talking about AI, he's saying that ChatGPT could be a really big innovation, a really good thing. But also what I think that they're also communicating with us as well is that they believe that they're underwriting these loans on these multifamily and commercial properties and on these residential properties as well, under the notion that incomes are going to remain stable, right? Well, what happens when incomes start to fade, especially as we start to see a lot of technological revolution over the next 5 years? Well, the banks are going to be stuck holding the bag on a lot of these properties. That's what I believe he's communicating when he says the banking crisis is not over, will cause repercussions for years to come. That is what I believe he's saying. He's saying that banking products are going to get harder to come by, and loans are going to get harder. But as that is happening right now, property insurance, as I just mentioned, set to jump 60% in Florida. Just like Glenn Kelman said in 2021 that property insurance is going to go through the roof in certain areas. But I think it's going to be a lot more areas than just South Florida. I think it's going to be, a lot of coastal areas, a lot of coastal communities. We're going to start to see a lot of expensive real estate step into some stress as interest rates rise and these insurance premiums continue to skyrocket. But it's not just Florida. So here's the 10 states where home insurance rates are rising the fastest. Arkansas, 18.5%. Washington, 18.1%. Colorado, 17.5%. Texas, 16.0%. Oregon, 15%. Arizona, 14%, Utah, 14%, Minnesota, 13.9%, North Carolina, 13.7%, Illinois, 13.6%, right? You're looking at these numbers and you say, okay, well, obviously problems could be coming, but when you have insurance rates skyrocketing and property taxes rising and most people have very little to no equity or negative equity in their properties, what are you going to have happen? You're going to have all these people looking to find ways, creative ways to offset these losses. And so what are they going to do? They're going to rent them out. They don't have the option of selling. They're going to say, hey, I got a 2.5% or a 3% or 3.5% mortgage. My carrying cost in this property is pretty low. I'm going to list it for rent. And so as that is happening, we're going to start to see this situation unfold, this $20 trillion commercial real estate problem. And what's crazy is most of the debt coming in 2023 are going to be originating from 2013 to 2018, original debt, right? So you're talking something like 200 billion, give or take, in commercial loans that are going to be refied over the next 12 to 15 months. It's going to be a problem. And so these commercial loans, they not only have increased insurance and property taxes, but now they have falling rents, and now there's likely going to be a lot more competition to get that tenant, meaning rents are going to continue to fall. And as of now, we're looking at what's already happening in the multifamily market. It's pretty crazy. Apartment building sales slide 74%, the most in 14 years. And again, 14 years, 2009. Apartment sales are slumping since 2009, great financial crisis, right? I talked about this for a while on this channel, saying that this is going to come, and here we are. Sales of the rental apartment building are falling at the fastest rate since the subprime mortgage crisis, a sign that higher interest rates, regional banking turmoil, and slowing rent growth are undercutting demand for these buildings. Fascinatingly, about 67% of all these commercial loans are held by these small regional banks. And so what I think is very likely going to happen is we're going to begin to see a consolidation of banks over the next 5 years. And I think there's probably going to be 5 or 6 or 7 big banks that essentially are bigger than ever, right? They're going to be way too big to fail. But the big question I ask is what's going to happen with all of these multifamily landlords that purchase these properties on a 3 cap or a 4 cap or a 5 cap? So what is a cap rate? If you don't know anything about real estate or little about real estate, a cap rate is the net operating income divided by the purchase price. So to give you an easy number, let's say you have a building that is generating $50,000 a year in net income if you were to pay all cash for that property. Well, if it's $1 million property, it'd be a 5 cap, 5%, right? But in South Florida, there's areas, Boca, Miami, all along the coast, Fort Lauderdale, they're buying deals at 3.5, 4 caps, meaning you're going to go buy a $1 million property that's making $35,000 a year net income. And so what happens with that property owner that purchased that deal and rents are starting to soften and insurance is going up and property taxes are going up? Well, you're going to have a situation where that landlord is in the red. But it's not just South Florida. There's a lot of locations. For example, Los Angeles, New York, certain areas of Boston, Philadelphia. You started seeing people buying these 3.5, 4, 4.5 caps where these landlords are levered to the teeth in these loans. And so as interest rates start to rise, go from 3% to 7%, it's over for those landlords. And what was the story told to all of us the last couple of years? Inflation, inflation, inflation. You got to borrow money. Let's lock in cheap debt and invest and buy hard real assets because that's going to be the best hedge against inflation. When in reality, it's the greatest economic rug pull of all time. We are witnessing it. I mean, this is what the facts are saying, not what I'm saying. The facts are saying this is what is going on. And they're saying, rent's starting to soften. We haven't seen anything yet. I personally think we're going to see rents fall in a lot of areas to massive levels. Like, think about it like this, right? A studio apartment, what that studio apartment will rent for, hypothetically, in some ways determines what that one bedroom might rent for, or that two bedroom might rent for in that area. The one bedroom determines the two bedroom in some capacity, right? Well, what happens when, let's just say they have all the same amenities, it's, you're comparing apples for apples, right? What happens when you start to look at a lot of retirees, a lot of people renting out their homes that never intended to rent out their homes, people that own these properties that intended to buy them, but they're going to try to rent them out. People are trying to bring in roommate situations. You have 1.7 million new housing units coming on the market for rent in 2023. You have so much inventory hitting the market. Well, obviously, if an increased supply is coming to the market, it's likely going to mean decreased pricing. And so with that, more problems for levered multifamily landlords. I do think there's going to be massive investing opportunities. I really do. I just think it's not now. Unless you're getting a smoking killer deal, it's probably not now. It's probably better to wait a little bit. I think we're going to see some really big stress coming to this economy. So this is the best time to fix your credit, to save money, to position yourself either within your career or to maybe start a business in which is going to capitalize over the next couple of years, because we are in the greatest wealth transfer of all time. If we could do anything to help you credit-wise, we'd love to at GreatCreditFast.com. Subscribe here on my second channel. It's going to be an interactive call and show and a podcast. The lease of my new office is all set, and the first show is going to be next week. So be sure to subscribe over there, and add me on Instagram for short form content and stories that I won't share here. Catch you guys later.